Well, something unexpected happened in the latest Diddy case development, and it is actually explosive. I don't even know what to call it. Can't even keep up with some of the weird news that had been coming out of that particular case. But today went full bonkers. And, well, we're going to talk about it. Here we go. Now, first and foremost, I will not presume absolute guilt on Diddy for any of the allegations that are against him. I mean, you could definitely do that, and I wouldn't blame you, but I'm going to try to step back and look at this in a rather impersonal way. I have very low expectations when it comes to this human being, and when you look at all the evidence that's been kind of stacked together, he doesn't look so good. The case is built largely on something that sounds eerily similar to what happened on an island with Island Boy a few years before. And these type of operations seem to run in a very long period of time in order to incriminate and get information on as many people as possible, because then you own them and you can get them to do a bunch of things. And of course, part of that is shaming rituals. And if you've seen some pictures coming out of some of these Diddy parties, well, there's some examples. But hey, those are all allegations. We're going to jump into the facts. And today, the facts absolutely blew up. For example, from Deadline, Diddy defense in disarray. I love alliteration, don't you? As top lawyer quits ahead of the trafficking trial, feds accused Sean Combs of trying to relitigate with delay tactics. Well, of course, the guy's looking at life in prison. 15 years probably at minimum. He's got so many charges on him, he may never get out of jail. Times like 20. It's really, really bad. And, well, his attorney must think so as well. From the article, exclusive. 2 months before the start of the trafficking trial that could see much of the accused Sean Diddy Combs behind bars for the rest of his life, one of the I'll Be Missing You rapper's top lawyers wants out of the case. I wonder why. In a request today, Anthony Ricco to Judge Aaron Sambramanian partially pulls the veil back on a defense team that is consumed with infighting and lack of focus, I'm told. This sounds oddly like the OJ trial, if you remember anything going way back when this dream team didn't always get along at times. It's become a real poop show. They're desperate not to go to trial, a well-positioned attorney told Deadline of the Mark Ignifilio and Tenny Garagios-led Coombs criminal trial defense. Look at the filings. They're throwing everything at the wall and praying that something sticks. Well, I bet so. It's nice to write a check, get your client off, and maybe get other people lining up right behind them. Ricco's move Friday for permission to withdraw from Diddy's multi-claims case is thin on details and admittedly unorthodox in the way it is being conducted, due to that what the lawyer cites as protections afforded by the attorney-client privilege. Yeah, Cash Patel just got confirmed. There's some information you may have gleaned and now understand why you need to bail. I think that may be some of it, but that's just me speculating. I don't have any insights at all. However, it's making a point of saying he is exiting respectfully but regretfully. The New York-based Ricco's declaration adds, although I have provided Sean Combs with the highest level of legal representation expected by the court, under no circumstances can I contribute to effectively serve as counsel for Sean Combs, consistent with the ABA standards for criminal justice. Did he tell you he did something wrong? Were you part of him doing something wrong? Or do you have conflict, well, with what could be brought against you by another federal entity at some point in the future? I have no answers here. Again, just speculating. Diddy's upcoming trial should not be delayed because of Ricco's requested departure, the lawyer says. The Bad Boy Records founder has been incarcerated at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center since his September 16th arrest. Ricco's joined the pricey Mark Angifilio and Tony Garagos-led Combs' defense team on September 22nd, repeatedly failing to get released on $50 million bail. Combs is set to go to trial on racketeering, bad trafficking, and transportation to engage in intimate acts, for lack of a better way to put it, starting on May 5th. We're coming down to it. This is closing in fast. I wonder how the walls feel around you, Mr. Combs. Internally, there's been nothing but rumors about infighting and, of course, some desperation, and a defense team that has been in shambles since the very beginning. Having one of the rougher pieces of an onion be discarded may not necessarily be a bad thing. And to step back from it even further, all of this is being couched in the form of racism, because that card has been played at almost every single turn, with the whole world being against a powerful black man. Jay-Z seems to be getting off a little bit lighter, with his most recent case getting poofed on Valentine's Day with no reasonable assumption that they could ever be filed again, because I imagine a lot of money may have changed hands. But there are some other shoes to drop, so to speak. It seems Diddy's been suing everybody and their mom while he's been in prison, including NBC, but we'll get there in just a second. You see, everything about this case leans into 30 civil lawsuits that are just waiting for Diddy outside the door, if he ever gets outside. And very recently, probably the most recent of these cases, is a John Doe who insists that Diddy drugged him and had intimate relations with him when he really wasn't very interested in that, apparently. All told, there seem to be pending 100 different litigants in this particular side of the case. And again, it's just the civil complaints, not anything that's going on federally. But let's return to that NBC nugget that we seem to have avoided for the moment, and that's the fact that Universal and Peacock apparently put together a little bit of an expose or documentary called The Making of a Bad Boy. And I guess he told Forbes that he considers this piece a hit job. When it dropped last month, it actually came out accusing him of being a serial life ender and an underage fan of the playground influencer, which he claims is going to tank him at getting a fair shot. And on top of it all, they're trying to reposition those freak-off videos as a form of consent into getting down and dirty with the diddler. And of course, one of the weirder stories of last weekend, or even the prior weekend, was Kanye West actually begging for Diddy to receive a pardon for some reason. I'm not sure that's in Trump's best interest, but it certainly would allow Diddy to speak freely at any other trial that he was called to, since he would be waiving his particular right to remain silent. That should be interesting. Returning to the story over here, most relevant to the instant request to get out of there, on February 1st of 2025, the government provided the defendant with a 16-page enterprise letter outlining in detail the racketeering activity and related conduct that the government currently expects to prove in trial in connection with the charged racketeering conspiracy offense, which does not sound very promising for Diddy. Incidentally, the whole purpose of that particular letter is to get Combs' attorneys and Mr. Combs himself to stop trying to attempt to relitigate the deal, or the case of the trial, or any of the charges that are posed against him. A fact made clear or underlined by Mr. Podlovsky's sharp missive saying, in short, those additional disclosures undermine any claim that by the defendant that he is not aware of the nature of the charge pending against him or is unable to adequately prepare for trial. I think he's probably more than adequately prepared. He just doesn't like what he's looking at, or maybe his legal team doesn't. You have to remember, all these guys got to get jobs after they lose this one. As I mentioned before, the number of litigants on the civil side are represented by lawyer Tony Buzbee. He's a Houston attorney that's been basically the main John and Jane Doe litigator for almost everybody that has claims against Diddy himself, not to mention Jay-Z and maybe a few others. And while I'm fairly sure that you and I can figure out what the results of this trial may be, the question at hand is, what is it going to do to these defense attorneys, What is it going to do to the government? And what is it going to do for the United States? Because frankly, there's a lot of information available out there that's all controlled on tapes and other types of recordings that I think a lot of people would like made public. It sounds like there is a transparency spree going on at the federal government. So do you think we're going to get to see who's on these lists, or this one in particular? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. And as I forgot to remind you, do double check that you're still subscribed to the channel on my pursuit to 100K. And if you enjoy videos like this, leave me another extra note down below, along with making sure you turn on the notifications bell and have hit the like button. As always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya for real.